going to talk saving money on travel and vacations and what all of us really want in life. That's really the goal here, right? To just get to have some time away. So I thought, what better place to have a Q&A on saving on travel than in my hotel room. I'm actually traveling this week, so live from my hotel room in San Diego. You can see the windows still have light outside, so all of you guys on the East Coast, I know it's dark on your side, but the sun hasn't set here. It will in about 10 minutes, so we're going to see how dark this little tiny hotel room with that one little light is going to get. We'll see how we look, but as we go through tonight, how to save on vacations and travel. Guys, vacations are like my thing. I guess you could say, really like an experiences mom. If I could, I would just skip wrapping presents under the tree and I would just give my kids a trip every year. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't choose that option, but they do like the trips once they're on them. Even one of my teenagers who doesn't like traveling, she won't confess it, but she enjoys the trips once she's on them. So for me, figuring out how to do trips on a budget is crucial. I can't really imagine life without trips and without vacations. That's just how much they mean to me. And growing up, it was camping. We never went anywhere big, but we went camping, and those are where most of my memories are. So I don't know about you, but if you were to think back, you know, a lot of your favorite memories of your family are when you went on trips when you were little, and they're your favorites even as parents now. So they are important. So that's where we're going to go. Yes, Kimberly, I agree. San Diego is gorgeous. I could not live here full time. To be able to sleep here, I have to wear earplugs because I live on a farm. So right now, even the traffic noise is a little too much for me, but a very gorgeous city. So we have a lot. This is my goal. I just took tons of notes, planning out where we were going to go today. I should have been listening to a session. I'm here for a conference, but I wanted to get ready for you guys. So we're going to dive in. First huge major like tip, I guess, but really for you just in terms of planning is if you are trying to save money, you want to focus on when you are traveling. That is the biggest way to save money on vacations. Now, there's lots of ways after you pick the dates, but the dates are like, I mean, they're your 50% savings. It's like the buy one, get one deal in the grocery store. The date that you pick to travel is a make or break on how great of a deal that you're going to get. I know that if your kids are in public school, this is tricky because yes, the best dates for travel are during school time. But maybe if it's possible to work it into a shoulder season or almost immediately after school gets out, we go on that first week of summer. However you can work this, those dates are crucial. We homeschool. That might be in the top 5 reasons for me. I'm telling you how important vacations are for me. And honestly, it really is. And when do you miss the beginning? I'm in a hotel room in San Diego because, I came here just for the setting for tonight's Q&A. Not really. I'm here for a social media conference. I come every year, and it just happened to fall. And since we just canceled a couple weeks ago, I didn't want to cancel on you guys tonight. So live from my hotel room. Okay, so, and YouTube folks, I'm not sure why you can't see, but hopefully it'll pop in a minute. I see lots of folks are on and watching, so hello to everyone that can see. So I mentioned dates. When I mention dates, what I'm trying to tell you is that not dead of summer, that sometimes over Christmas, depending on where you're going, might be good dates, but generally, if people are in school, prices are so much lower. So if we can travel during those off-season times, you're talking about a massive savings, and we haven't even applied all of the other tips. We just started with the dates. So always looking for that off-peak time. An example for us, well, 2 examples really. Last year, if you've been watching Q&As, I think it was actually the last time we talked about saving on vacation, my husband and I had just gotten back from Scotland. Now, we are both, not spring chickens. That was the first time either one of us had crossed the ocean and gone back to the mother country, I guess, for most of us. We loved the trip. We went in early February, which if you're looking at times to go to Scotland, everyone's going to tell you it's a pretty miserable time to go to Scotland. It was not. It rained on us for maybe 10 minutes the entire week we were there. But in terms of prices, we used points on plane tickets, but had we not, plane tickets are so cheap. There's no one in the hotels because it's not a peak travel season. So if you're even wanting a big, huge trip, off-peak is going to make it so much cheaper. Okay, one other side to that is cruising. So our family, and I mentioned it in a couple videos now, the reason we didn't have a Q&A 2 weeks ago was because I loaded everybody up and we went on a family cruise. So vacations on a budget totally can happen, guys. We went on a family cruise because that was my kids' winter break, and I knew it was off-peak. To go anywhere mid-February is generally off-peak. So this February is just our go on vacation month, I guess. And in terms of focusing on that time, if that works for you, great. For us, it meant we got crazy good prices, kids sail free, and we could take advantage of that. When you tell a woman with 5 kids that kids are going to sail free, I'm starting to look at the calendar. When are we going? But you really can save money. So let's dive into the how and the get there and the rooms and every other part of it. Obviously, I can't pick the dates for you, and if you're telling me I want to save on the beach and the first thing you tell me is we're going in July, I can't help you. So we got the big one out of the way, and definitely, guys, I kind of rolled straight into the topic tonight, but if you've got questions that are off topic, please feel free to throw those out too in the comments. Travel's always a fun one, and y'all's comments always keep me busy too. So Wendy's already asking or saying we're looking to go on a road trip in Europe next year. When is off season there? So Wendy, it really is the same as our off seasons because it really is most of their tourism is us. So it's when everybody is free to travel, tends to be the same peaks for everybody else. There's some differences there. So the Asian markets tend to travel during our off season as well. So if you were going to somewhere like Disney, Disney can be really, really busy during all times of the year with almost what feels like no off season, no off peak because of the amount of tourists that are coming in. But if you're just looking at just going to general European countries and we're wanting to not do something that's a heavily, overly marketed part, then you're going to be fine if you can travel during that school year time versus the summertime. You're going to get a much better price. So we're going to dive in. And in terms of starting, it's debatable whether lodging or travel is the most expensive part for folks because it really depends on how you get there. So let's go with lodging first, because sometimes, if you drove there, the hotel really is the most expensive part. And guys, my advice here, it may not work for everybody on all things. So, if you've got tips, please throw them in. I'd love to hear how you save on your vacations as well. For us, a key part has always been staying loyal. Years ago, we started to become loyal to Marriott because of their Marriott Residence Inns. It was specific to that one hotel. Having a large family, Residence Inns have a 2-bedroom apartment, basically. And so you're paying for this one hotel room, but it has a kitchen. It's wonderful. And 2 bedrooms. I don't have to worry about getting connecting rooms. It made my life so much easier. And we were traveling a ton for workshops all over the Southeast. So we started staying loyal to Marriott back then, and that now saves us a ton of money because we earned status level with Marriott for life. That gives us free breakfast no matter where we stay. Even if we stay somewhere fancy and use points, we still get free breakfast, free internet, and other perks. And most hotel chains have that type of system. I cannot count the number of people, though, that do not use the loyalty or rewards programs. So even if you only travel once a year and you're like, getting these points isn't going to get me anything, you should be part of the loyalty and rewards programs that are out there because you are talking about slowly adding up or possibly quickly adding up and getting those points. Consider, too, if someone in your family travels for business. If they travel for business, they still get to use their rewards points for that hotel room. And they should, so you could be racking up points that you're not even potentially paying for and then using those points. Now, one other side to that, potentially, if you do a lot of travel, is to also have the credit card that goes along with that hotel. So if you are going to be loyal, having the credit card that goes along with that hotel will get you extra points, even if all you use it for is that hotel stay. So I just booked the hotel stay on the hotel credit card. I don't ever use it outside of traveling. That's fine. You earn a higher number of points when you pay with the credit card. So I'm not a huge credit card fan unless you pay them off, no holding balances, but still just to kind of hit that one as a topic, it is a way of earning, just an added bit of points. So as we dive in, I don't want to get anyone hooked on credit cards. It's always a scary part whenever we're talking about saving money, but it is a way to get more points, and points totally pay off. In me mentioning Scotland last year, we used points to get over there. We used points to sleep while we were there. We used points to rent a car while we were there. You can do it. Now, we had been saving those points for years and never using them, but you can do it all on points if you're really good and you can save them up and you just keep earning them every time you have the option to earn them. So some other options, price match. Folks don't realize it, but a lot of hotel chains, Marriott being one of them, if I go and I find on Orbitz, Hotwire, wherever you're looking, if I find a deal on the hotel that I want to stay in, and then I hop over to the brand's website and their price is higher, they will honor the price that you have found at another site. The same if you've already booked the hotel room. So just because you've booked your vacation, even if you booked it 6 months out, you're not done. You do want to keep an eye on prices. And I'm not saying like every day we log in and we check the prices, but I do want to keep an eye on where those prices are. And if they go lower, I want to hop on chat really quick or call them and say, hey, I booked this hotel room at whatever amount you paid, and now it's $15 a night cheaper. Price match it and get that lower price. They will honor the lower price if it goes lower after you've booked any of those options. The main reason for if it goes lower after you've booked is that most hotels will allow you to cancel up to 48 hours out. So if they're not going to honor the lower price, then you could just cancel and rebook. And they don't really want to go there, so they do the price match. A lot of them also will give you a best price guarantee if you book through their website and not through a third party like the Orbitz and Expedias of the world. So just consider that as you're pondering where you want to go, or maybe you find the hotel you want to stay in and then we go hunting. On that note, if you're headed to a big city, consider using transportation in the city. San Diego has a above ground train system, New York subway system, and don't stay right in the heart of things. It costs a lot of money to stay right in the heart of things. So the conference center for San Diego is a mile from my hotel room here. There are tons of hotels that are right outside of the conference center, but they're also very expensive. Meanwhile, a block from my hotel, that way, is a train station that I can hop on and pay $2.50 to get to the convention center. Well, at $5, $2.50 there and $2.50 back, $5 a day, we are paying way less a night for this hotel than we would to be close and not need the train to get back and forth. You're only going to sleep in your hotel room anyway. So just consider being outside of the, hot spot can be a significant savings. So when you're looking at a map for hotels in the area, zoom out and just look. I'm not telling you you have to, but just look at what the other options are, because it really could be a significant savings off of what the price is right in the heart of things. No Times Square here, folks. That's crazy expensive. So hopefully you already knew that one, but crazy expensive. So think about where you're going. Another one too is prepaying. A lot of the big chains have gone to prepay rates. Obviously you can't cancel here, but if you know that you're going, you're feeling confident nothing's going to go wrong, usually the prepay rate can save you another 10 to 15% depending on the hotel. So, and I can tell we're getting very dark behind me. I've got this one little lamp in my room, so there's not much I can do. I do have a lamp behind my head. I can try to, but it's just, you're gonna get me. It's like spotlight night, but hopefully you're able to watch and be okay. So let me dive into some of your questions really quick, and we'll come back. So that's a lot on lodging there. So Shannon asks, when's the best off-peak cruising times? Shannon, typically that one is also going to be during school season, but it also depends on where you're going. So for example, Alaska, off-peak for Alaska is early May and September, the whole month of September. School is back in, but also those months in Alaska, for example, are cold. Now, I have done in my life, not in recent years, but in my lifetime, 3 Alaskan cruises. If you've never done one, you should totally put it on your list. It's pretty amazing. But of those 3, all of them have been during those off-peak times. So it is a significant savings to go in May or September, for example. It just depends on where you're headed. The Caribbean, off-peak would be in the early spring and the late fall. Not in the summer, even though humorously in the summer it's crazy hot, but you just have to kind of think about where you're headed and what the weather looks like there. Another one for cruises is looking at when the ship is there, and typically the first part of when the ship arrives in that area is off-peak, and that last little bit before the ship leaves the area is off-peak. So no ship stays all year long in the Caribbean. They don't. These companies move them around. They're repositioning cruises you can even take that are crazy cheap. But when they start to reposition them, they hung there for maybe 2 weeks in that off-peak time. That's your time to go. So looking at the cruise ship schedule is going to give you a good idea too. Mandy asks, we're looking to go to Edisto this summer. Edisto is so awesome. I love it. It's a little tiny beach in South Carolina for everyone that's not a South Carolina native. Is it best to do a hotel or an Airbnb? To my knowledge, there is not a hotel on Edisto. That's part of the reason why we all love it. And Airbnb-wise, you may find a couple of places. There are a lot of houses on Edisto. I would look on VRBO as well, which is Vacation Rental by Owner, or HomeAway. They're really owned by the same company, so you're going to get the same houses on both. But there are some good options, and it's very inexpensive. We actually went to Edisto last summer because it was almost half the price of a beach in the Charleston area. Let's see. Oh, and Faith says, I might be onto something with homeschooling. So with homeschool, Faith, there are so many options. That could be a whole nother Q&A. We kind of do a mix of things. But if you have older kids, there are ways to do homeschool that they're literally taking class online, so you don't have to do all the teaching if that part scares you. But feel free, Faith, if you want to send me an email, I'll gladly share anything that we're doing or help you figure it out if you're wanting to get there, Jenny@southernsavers.com. And then you were saying, what cruise line would I suggest when traveling with family and time frame? So depends on the number of kids. 5 kids for us, ranging from 4 to 14. I cannot imagine taking a cruise longer than 7 days because that room you're not in the room a ton, but it still gets tiny. And I think all my kids would agree, longer than 7 days, and it's kind of lost its fun. But they absolutely love the cruise. For me, the other part too, and this is a little bit in how we're parenting, we actually love cruise ships that cater to older people. So Holland America, we love Holland America. The reason is that the ship itself is incredibly family friendly versus some ships that are more like big party boats. And that's just not our style. If it's your style, have a blast, but it's not our style. So we tend to hang in the older side of things because it's quieter and great for kids. Just depends on what you're looking for. Honestly, Royal Caribbean's been running some crazy good deals lately, so that's where I might start, and it's not a bad ship at all. Royal Caribbean right now has been running full price for the first person, 60% off the second person, and kids sail free. So you could really get some pretty sweet deals there, depending on when you're going and how those dates line up. And then Shiara asks, any RV rental discounts or good seasons to rent RVs for a family of 6? Shiara, that is one that we have not tried. We own an RV. It's an old RV. I don't even remember, like 14, 15 years old, that we got used and has worked great for us. In terms of rentals, I would be leery if you have never RV'd before to grab one and like go on a long trip with it. I would test that out, stay local, make sure you really have an idea of where you're trying to go. But if you are totally up for the adventure, there could be some deals. I haven't researched that one too much because we own one, but I can definitely do some hunting. What I would consider is, as long as we can be below the price of a hotel. I've seen some rentals on RVs that are way higher than a hotel room would cost you, and that doesn't make any sense, because if you plan on moving, so if I plan on renting an RV and traveling, you have got to factor in the price of gas. I'm going to just let my husband stick that one in the comments, because I'm not usually at the pump when he is filling up the car with gas, but when we are pulling the RV, I'm pretty sure we're hitting maybe 9 or 10 miles to the gallon. It's a scary number. So you got to factor in that cost as well for an RV trip if you're renting on top of the rental. So just to, not deter you from it. I love camping, but just so you're factoring in all the costs. Okay, so Wendy, I see your question. Do I stay in a cabin on a cruise that holds the whole family, or do you get 2 rooms? For us, sadly, there are not rooms that hold 7 people. So we do have to get 2 rooms. It depends on the ship you're on. Norwegian does have rooms that hold 7 people, but they are not cheap. So if you're looking for a larger family, you're probably looking at 2 cabins, or potentially grab some people and get them to come with you, and spread your kids out amongst other people's rooms. You could get creative if you really wanted to. Okay, so let's dive into some other options. And speaking of that, one more on travel and lodging. Mentioning Edisto and VRBO, and mentioning friends and family. If you're looking at going to the beach, or you're wanting to rent a house, you're wanting to go to the mountains, a really great way to save on lodging is actually to bring people with you. Let's invite some friends to come, other families to come, your own family, extended family, and split the cost of that house. Because the house itself is already a pretty good deal. When you start to look at VRBO, the fact that it comes with a kitchen, we're not going to have to pay to eat out, it's already saving you a chunk of money. But then when I get down to splitting that cost per night by 2 or 3 other folks, crazy cheap to go on a vacation. And this was probably last year, but my husband and I were on a plane. It might have even been when we were headed to Scotland. We were on a plane with a group of people all headed to the Caribbean together, renting a 10-bedroom house. And these people were just random friends who they all went on vacation every year together as couples. I want to know them, but for them, price per night was like $15-20 a night to rent this 10-bedroom house and split it with 9 other couples. It's a pretty sweet idea. So just to throw that one out. Obviously, you don't want to bring your kids if you're bringing a whole bunch of other people without their kids, but maybe you share it with other families with kids. Okay, so let's talk getting there. That was just lodging. Let's talk airplanes. I guess first, cars, almost, I'm just going to make up a number here, has to be 90%, 95%, always cheaper than a plane if you are staying in the contiguous United States. Once you start adding up multiple plane tickets, getting in your car, paying the gas, if you have a car that gets fairly good gas mileage, it is going to be cheaper to drive. The cruise that we just went on a couple weeks ago left out of Fort Lauderdale, and yes, we hauled all 7 of us in the car and we drove to Fort Lauderdale, which from South Carolina is a 9-hour trip by map. But when you throw 5 kids in the car, it is not a 9-hour trip any longer. You know how that works. It is still cheaper, even with some of the crazy good deals that we've been seeing, like the $60 one-way flights times 7 you are going to get there cheaper on just gas, guys. Even having to pay for parking, I promise. So just to throw that out. But let's go airline tickets. So a few sites that are my favorite sites for airline tickets, and I've mentioned them in the past, but just to mention them again. Skiplagged, if you've never tried this one, skiplagged.com is the first one. And Skiplagged, it hunts for hidden legs. Now, you can never check a bag here. That is imperative, because if you do check a bag, your bag will continue on without you. But as long as you don't check a bag, these are some fun, easy flights that you can take. So I'm going to just randomly put in something here. Let's go New York to Chicago, and I don't know. We're just going to see what it spits out with a random ticket. I don't know why I'd want to take this flight because I don't live in New York, but what it will come back with is what it finds are the cheapest flights. And then potentially, these are all directs. I guess our better option would be to try some other cities, but you'll see off to the side if there was a hidden leg and it found a really good deal for that hidden leg. So let's try a different one and see what we can come up with. Trying to think of random places that would have a hidden leg on them. Let's try this. There we go. We got one. Okay, so this flight is a flight from Charlotte. I want to go to JFK in New York. It's $151, but look, here's my blacked out leg. So I don't want to check a bag because my bag is going to end up in Baltimore. I want to end up in New York with my bag in New York, so don't check a bag. But I now am basically doing the first leg of a flight and then getting off of the plane and out of the airport. I'm not going to make that connection to Baltimore, but I'm going to get the ticket for $151. Now, that's not necessarily the cheapest flight from Charlotte to New York because it's on Delta, and who flies Delta out of Charlotte? But you get the idea. So this is what Skiplagged looks like and what a hidden leg looks like. That is a one-way ticket. It's not going to be a round trip, but it is a one-way ticket, and you would get there for a pretty decent price. So yes, the hidden leg you would always do as a one-way, because if you don't make this leg, they'll end up canceling your return. So that's another question I get with hidden legs is, well, what if I just wanted this half? If you don't get on that first flight, they will cancel the rest of the ticket. So it always has to be the first part of the ticket, not the second part of the ticket, and a one-way flight. But it does make for some decent prices, depending on where you're going. And guys, I'm just throwing in some random cities to try to give you an example. But this is a fun one. So, and that's a unique experience. But another place that you can go, it's probably one of my favorite places to hunt if I can't decide, like, oh, I want to take everyone on a vacation, but I don't know where I want to take them. I love kayak.com/explore. So this is the Kayak Explore tool. It knows that I'm in San Diego right now, so that's what it's showing me, is flights from San Diego to anywhere. So I guess we'll give you a West Coast example tonight. But if I wanted to, I'm starting to see, let me see, I'll try to make this a little bit bigger for y'all. From San Diego, just wanting to hunt, like it'll pop in and give you some examples. And I guess I really took it too small, so I'm kind of breaking it. But I can hover over the dots and I can get some examples of, come on, give them back to me. There we go. There's one that I could go to Austin, Texas for $77. Now, yes, I know I'm in San Diego, so Austin, Texas may not be as thrilling for folks. I don't know whether or not they'd want to go there. But that's a really great price. Now, notice I don't have any dates here. At the top it says anywhere for any length of time. So you have to actually click on this, Austin, Texas, and let's see where it's telling me what the possible dates are. I don't want to set up an alert for this, but it's giving me ideas based on when I wanted to travel, what the lowest tickets were. So it doesn't mean that it is going to line up with when your vacation might be, but it's giving you some ideas of very inexpensive travel options. And it's just fun in general, just to kind of brainstorm. Where would I go? Here's the cheapest. I don't know if you'd really want to make a tiny little leg. Oh, It's not liking it all that I zoomed in for you guys. Let me zoom back out and unbreak it. The web designers did not build it for that. I could go to Phoenix for 53 bucks. You know, you get the idea. For those of us in the Southeast, I can change it to Charlotte. That's our go-to airport anytime we fly. But even here, I could get to Miami for 96 bucks. I could go to Las Vegas for 91. That's just the fun of the trip. So Kayak Explore, it's a fun tool for sure. Just to get an idea of what's there. Google Flights is another one. So when it comes to booking, I tend to go to Google Flights. I know I'm seeing in the comments some folks that are mentioning travel agents, and I think that's great. Travel agents do not add to the cost of your ticket at all. If you feel more comfortable with that, you can totally go through them. I will tell you, when it comes to Google Flights, they're using the exact same system because Google owns it. The back-end flight system that airlines use, that travel agents use, it is run by Google. So when you use google.com/flights, you're seeing the exact same items. They will not necessarily find a flight that you cannot find, but for some folks, they do give you peace of mind in just knowing that you have a good flight. And for some folks, if you don't travel a lot, they can save you from buying a very bad ticket. I personally would never recommend a layover in Atlanta that was less than 45 minutes. You're not going to make it. And this is coming from someone who has run barefoot through the Atlanta airport more than once in her life and not made more than one flight in Atlanta on a layover. So yeah, that's where having a travel agent can save you a little frustration if you're not used to the area or the airport, because these sites will let you book it. They will consider it a valid ticket even though no one and their mother could make that flight. Okay, so Google Flights, to show you what Google Flights looks like, it lets you play. So let's start here. I'll show you everything you can do. I'm going to switch it from San Diego. I can put in Charlotte, but I can also not stop there. I can add other airports. So I don't actually live in Charlotte. I know that tickets are always cheaper if I drive to Charlotte, but I can put in Columbia. I can put in Charleston. So I'm putting in all the airports that are near me, 3 different airports that I'm willing to leave from. And then I just want to go to New York. So show me all the airports in New York. I'm not going to New York anytime soon, guys. I'm just giving you an example. I can also come over here and I can say, and automatically, I know that you probably cannot see this on your screen, but automatically underneath each date is giving me a price of how much that ticket is going to be for. So this is actually pretty sweet. I'm just going to go with the dates that it's giving me. Leaving on March 18th, returning on Sunday, the 22nd. I can get a round trip ticket from 58 bucks. Now let's see what it found, because I've told it 3 airports that I'm willing to leave from, and you may be surprised. So Charlotte is the biggest airport that is out there, but it's not always the best price. So that's why I did 3 airports up here, and I would encourage you to. So this is just a perk of Google Flights, because the best flight is actually from, well, this is Charlotte to EWR, but you'll also see some that are, Charleston's going to pop in, Columbia's going to pop in, just so you can see what the options are. So the cheapest flight right here is on Spirit. I've never flown Spirit, but it's 58 bucks non-stop. And you can select that flight, and then you can select your returning flight, and boom, I have a round trip ticket, if I wanted it, to New York for 58 bucks. I get that I can't pack a bag, but it's 58 bucks. So play with it, play with your dates. It's just a fun way to see how cheap we can get our tickets and where we want to go. So I use Explore to get an idea of where, and then I use Google Flights to get more of the idea of when. Just using those 2 sites together is a great way to save on airline travel in general. Okay, let me jump back to some of your questions. I know we hung there for a bit. I feel like we're being, I don't know, very artistic tonight, this whole black spotlight look. It's very different from our normal way. So Jill's asking, what are we doing for spring break at the end of this month? So nothing. I have a 14-year-old, Jill, who personally thinks that she hates travel. She doesn't, but she just thinks that she does. And she has declared, because that is her birthday, that she shares with a twin sister, that she wants to be home on her birthday and go nowhere. So we are not doing anything for spring break this year to make that one almost 15-year-old happy. Instead, we're going to have to go somewhere for the other twin who longs to go somewhere for her birthday. So how do I feel about discount airlines? Is it worth it? And with all the add-in costs. So Wendy, you do need to factor in add-in costs. If you're going to check a bag, I would say even going for those no bag tickets is potentially not a good deal for you. You need to look at what their bag fees are. But one option, if you can never not check a bag, is to actually get the credit card for that airline as well. As long as you book your ticket with that credit card, don't do anything else with it. Just have the ticket, have the credit card to get the ticket. As long as it doesn't have an annual fee, you're going to get a free bag. That's what all of the airline credit cards do offer. So we have that because we mostly fly American going out of Charlotte. It's an American hub. We have the American credit card. I only use it for airline travel once a year when I come to San Diego, but it would give me a free check bag. I didn't check a bag this trip, but if you did, it is a cheaper way to get there. And then all of the other fees, you would want to factor that in. You know, if you're going to want to know where your seat is, potentially that's not going to work for you. That's an added fee to be able to have a specific seat on the plane, and they'll tack in lots of other things too. And Gabby's chiming in and saying her flight from Columbia to Munich was cheaper than going through Charlotte, even though you actually had to fly through Charlotte. Exactly. So checking all those little tiny airports, you never know what kind of incentive they're running to try to increase flights. And I'll give you an inside tip on that one, Gabby. Because these tiny airports want to be considered international, so it's Columbia International Airport. It is not international. They will do that for some tickets that are international tickets in the end because it can kind of count towards that. That's just like an inside thing. To dive into some other things and to not just hang here, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. No, I did. I've made a ton of notes tonight so that we would kind of make sure we hit everything, every single thing. I did want to hit one more thing on the travel side. I mentioned that cars are cheaper generally driving, so we have the gas price to factor in. And one thing to mention, I'm not a warehouse person unless Sam's is handing us a free membership. There is one right now. I just posted about it again this morning as a reminder. So if you go back to Southern Savers, you'll see it in the list of recent posts. But generally, warehouse clubs, we don't save a ton when it comes to groceries and other items that we're grabbing, but gas is a considerable savings. So if you are pondering a membership and you don't think you're going to get a lot there, but you have one nearby, obviously if Sam's is not somewhere that you're headed, or Costco, to go out of the way to get gas isn't going to save you anything, but their regular price on gas can be a savings of sometimes upwards of 20 cents a gallon in our area. And you know, your area may be different, but it's something to consider to grab that warehouse membership for the gas savings alone. Not to mention, since we're traveling or talking travel, gift card deals that they'll also run. You want to save on Disney? They have gift cards for Disney at discounted prices. Gift cards for dining at discounted prices. So that would be another thing where your warehouse membership might come in handy. And there is a free Sam's membership. You're going to pay $45, but then you're going to get $45 just off your very first purchase when you use their app. And you scan your products, you check out through the app, and you get $45 off. So you should do that. That offer ends this coming weekend. So I warned you. I told you about it. And we only saw it once last year. So I would, if you want it, I would grab it. Okay. John Smith, do I prefer hotels over Airbnb or VRBO? I actually, John, do not prefer hotels. I love VRBO and Airbnb. San Diego, there's not a lot of options in the downtown area, and New York Airbnbs are pretty cheap. So I would go, it just depends on the city. The reason I love them, kitchens. Having your own kitchen is going to save you money. And I know you may not think, I'm in New York, I'm going to cook a meal, but just the fact that you could have snacks, you could easily have lunch in your room, you know, grabbing a few things at the grocery store and making your own sandwiches, it will save you money. Where in a hotel room, this is what I got, guys. I got a bed. That's it. I don't have anything else. So look, doesn't my room look so much brighter now that I've gone away from that? But I'm using my only lamp so that I don't look blue. So one thing you can do in a hotel, though, just a major tip, is that most hotels will offer you the ability to get a mini fridge in your room. So there may not normally be a mini fridge in the room, but if you call before you go or you check when you check in, a lot of them do have mini fridges that they can bring up if they're available. Now, typically they have these so that they can be compliant with folks that have a health issue and maybe have medications that need to stay in the fridge. So potentially if they only have one or two, you may not want to reserve it, or you may want to tell them, if someone else with a bigger need needs this, let me know. But having that mini fridge, think about the things that you could get. I could even get from the local store here. I don't have to fly with them, but I could get things to make a sandwich and keep sandwich stuff in my room. I could keep a pasta salad in my room versus having to eat out for every single meal. So the mini fridge, if that's all you got, it's better than nothing, and it could be a way to save for sure. Let's see. And yes, so someone was asking if that was the right link for the Sam's Club. It is. So we're going to stick the link in to the current deal for Sam's. It's been running since February and it ends this weekend. So make sure that you get signed up before the 8th of March for the link that we're sticking in if you are wanting that. Okay, so let's talk. I'm not normally so prepared for you guys here lately, but now because I am, I want to make sure we don't miss anything. What I would do for dining, by the way, guys, is aim to only have to pay, if you are in a hotel room, to only have to pay for one meal a day. So the hotel that you pick, always factor in whether or not breakfast is included. Consider that the more expensive the hotel, usually the less perks of that hotel and the more things you're going to have to pay for. So don't go super posh. A room is a room. We are there to sleep. The same for a cruise, guys. Our family cruise 2 weeks ago, we had a window. We didn't have a balcony, but we were on the ship. And we got to go to the same places that everyone else got to go, but we didn't have to pay 3 times the amount to have a balcony. You're on the ship. Just enjoy the trip. We didn't stay in the room very much. If anything, we would go to the room to sleep, and as soon as the kids woke up, they were ready to leave. Like, let's go to the kids area, or let's go do this. No one wanted to hang in the room. And even if we had a balcony, it wouldn't have changed anything. No one wanted to hang in the room. Now, that said, I'm gonna give you this advice, because I did say you have to go to Alaska. That is the one destination that I would say having a balcony is totally worth it. I have done Alaska without a balcony. I have done Alaska with a balcony. And we loved having a balcony because of it's gorgeous. Everywhere else, it's ocean. You're in the middle of the Caribbean, it's still ocean. It looked the same 30 minutes ago, it's still ocean. You're not going to spend a ton of time just staring out the window at the ocean. So consider where you're going before you pay a ton of money for a room with a balcony. Just go with a room with a window. You'll be just fine. Same in the hotel. I don't need to get the fancy room. I just need a room and a place to sleep because I'm really here to do other things. So you're going to save a lot more that way by far. So let's see. Make sure I haven't missed any other questions too as we go through. Oh, and Sue, Sue, I didn't even think about all that, Sue. She's saying you could even make instant oatmeal with the hot water from your coffee maker. So if your hotel doesn't come with breakfast, you could totally get creative even with breakfast. Also, keep in mind, guys, if your hotel doesn't have a mini fridge, you could still take a cooler. There's an ice maker right down the hall, and you can keep your cooler cold without a problem. So you can definitely handle a few meals if you get creative. And our crew, I think this is just going to be their memories of growing up with 5 kids. I would imagine some of you guys have these same memories. But we pack a meal, we eat that meal at rest areas on the way down. So we ate in the dark, the other side of Jacksonville on our way to Fort Lauderdale. And that's just a regular for us because being in the car, paying for fast food for 7 people, not only do I not really want fast food for a ton of meals in a row, but it gets expensive. So if I can pack that at least one meal down and have that one last meal that I didn't have to pay for, it's pretty good for me. I'm happy to eat in the dark at a rest area and get, that's another $50 that we save to not do fast food. And lots of other options. Yeah, I love that you guys are chiming in on the things that you would eat. if you were traveling. So Bonnie is saying we have to make a trip in June from Georgia to Texas. So if you are Georgia to Texas, potentially you could drive that. Haven't mapped it, but I know that it's, less than a whole 24-hour period. I would consider driving it. It's a pretty fun drive if you're willing to take a little extra time to get there. If you're wanting to fly, then look at the bigger cities. Obviously, bigger city to bigger city is going to be your cheapest option for flights. And I would also look for VRBOs or Airbnbs to stay. There's a lot of options all over the all over the Texas area for Airbnb and VRBOs that are probably going to be cheaper than hotels. Jessica's chiming in and saying if you're renting a car, make sure it's unlimited mileage. Yes, and most of them in the U.S. are now. It's pretty rare to get a rental that has mileage where they're going to start to tack on after a certain number, but you do want to make sure that that is part of your rental agreement so you're not going to get too hurt. And let's talk about things to do. I gave my husband this link and told him I was going to get there. I see that he's already put it in the comments because that's a whole nother side of things. Not only, did you get on the cruise, but now when you get off the cruise, things are going to start to add up at all of those ports, or when I get to the city that I'm going to and you want to start to do things. Before you leave, start your research months ahead. That's actually what I love about vacations. I love taking them, but I really love planning them. And I think that my husband learned that a long time ago. That's like my de-stress. It's my hobby. Just tell me that in 9 months I can go on a vacation so that I can spend the next 9 months thinking about it, and it just makes me happy. So my favorite place for that is actually TripAdvisor. It's a website, it's also an app, but it's just a place where people can rate things and share things. But it's a great way to find things to do and reviews for those things to do because you're headed somewhere you've potentially never been before. Some ideas though, if you head to the link that we stuck in, it's a Pinterest link really, but it's a Pinterest link to a board that we've made of free things to do. And on Southern Savers, we have about 40 or 50 posts now of top 25 free things to do in tons of cities all over the US. And my husband's actually working on one for Key West because we aim to do all the free things when we were in Key West on our cruise. That was one of the stops that it had. We'll get that one up soon. I'll get him on it and get him writing. But use these lists. They're great. There's a ton of things in these cities that are free. And I would guess if you were only there for a couple days, you couldn't do them all. Now, is Disney on there? No. So if your aim is to go to Disney, there are other things to do in Orlando that are free, but I can't necessarily make Disney World free. But for us, we aim to do most of these things. Part of that's big family life. I can't afford entrance into event after event for 7 people. But also the free things tend to be a ton of fun. Sometimes our favorite memories are from this little hole-in-the-wall place that we stumbled upon that ended up not costing a dime to get in. We also tend to be more outdoorsy folk and enjoy a good park or, that's just us. So check out the lists for the cities that you're headed to on that link, and the Pinterest board will take you to the individual posts, but they're at least all in one place for you there. But then TripAdvisor, so that you can sit there and get some other ideas. You can save ideas through TripAdvisor too. I used that a lot as we planned for the cruise and the individual cities. So the cruise that we were just on went to Key West, Grand Cayman, Jamaica, and then the cruise's private island. Obviously, there's not anything on TripAdvisor for that, but it did help me to kind of get some ideas and some plans of where we were going to go and try to save money while we were there. So, and there are lots of ways to do that. So other ways to save, if you're not willing to go free, which I get it, some folks are like, no, I paid to get out here, I want to do it all. That's fine. Don't forget about Groupon. It has been around for ages. I know it's very 10 years ago. It's still there, and there are still a lot of local activities on Groupon, and local deals in particular. Groupon tends to run coupon codes almost every single week for 20% off. Now, they'll only do it for a couple days, but then it'll be back the next week. So if you're hunting and you see something on Groupon and you don't have a coupon code, hold off, because you will in just a few more days. They tend to run them on Fridays and Saturdays, 20% off local activities. perfect. Start to check the cities that you're going to a lot of time before you travel, because your Groupon is going to be good for a while. Use the 20% off codes, and you're going to have some pretty cheap tickets to various things. One other option for bigger cities is to look into City Pass. So citypass.com, they're the ones that offer the books with like 7 or 8 different things. Sometimes they even give you options of what those 7 or 8 things are in your book. But they tend to be the most visited places in the city. So we did this a number of years ago for Seattle. It included the Space Needle. It included, I think, the zoo. My kids did it. I didn't get a city pass. I was there for a convention, but we had taken the whole family out, and this was a chunk of time ago, so a couple of kids less, but they hit all those places in the city pass and had a blast, and it was the top attractions in the city to go to. So that's an option, and it's usually a good 20, if not upwards of 40% savings over buying each of those tickets individually. So City Pass can be a good savings if you're wanting to hit the true highlights. So New York, it includes, Top of the Rock. It includes the Statue of Liberty. Just depends on where you're wanting to go and what you're wanting to do. New York, I think they even give you some options if you weren't wanting to hit all those places. Let's see. So a couple questions. Trying to make sure I stay up on them. So good question, Shelley. Do we do specialty dining on a cruise? Since we're talking cruises, our goal is to get on the ship, to let the ship take us places, and to buy nothing on the ship. So no, because every other place you want to eat on the ship is already included into the price that you're paying, and it's delicious food. We do the regular, we still do the fancy dining room, which our kids enjoyed, but we do not pay for the additional places that you can eat on the ship. I'm happy with whatever the meals are. Another thing in terms of a ship that gets to be an added cost is drinks. So kids drink water or juice the whole week. We don't usually do soda at home anyway, so why would we need to pay for it on a ship? And when it comes to alcohol, you need to check with your ship's rules, but a number of ships will let you actually bring 1 bottle of wine per adult. So yeah, having 5 kids, they can't bring any, but 1 bottle of wine per adult onto the ship, and as long as you drink it in your stateroom, no charge whatsoever. So that right there can save you a little bit. We aren't big drinkers, but if we wanted to have something special to drink before a gala dress-up night, we could have a glass of wine in the room with the bottle that we brought on and not have to pay for any alcoholic beverages on the ship. So we are cheapskates once we get on the ship, and that's okay. The goal for me is to go on the vacation, have a blast on the vacation, but not come home broke because we did so much on the ship and bought so much on the ship that we really shouldn't have bought. So we just stick with that. And don't forget, if you've never traveled, if gratuities are not included, you are going to still have a bill at the end of the trip. And that'll be in the fine print when you book your ticket. So you just want to know whether or not gratuities are included. But depending on the cruise line, it can be upwards of $10 to $15 per person per day. That is the added gratuities. So if you are booking a cruise and gratuities are included, that can be a pretty significant savings for 7 people. As you're factoring in perks and what the deals are, that's a pretty good deal if they're throwing that one in. Okay. And then what about insurance on a rental car? So Shelley, this one, I do not pay for insurance on a rental car for 2 reasons. This you would need to do your own research on to make sure. First, you want to check your own car insurance policy. A number of them do have conditions for rental cars. See whether or not that is included. And second is your credit card. So I have a Chase credit card that is really geared towards travel. And that is one that our Marriott card is through Chase, and then this is a second card that we have that is through Chase. Now, I'm naming a few different credit cards, guys. We don't keep balances on any of them. We take advantage of the perks that they offer, but we pay them off. Now, this particular card, if I pay for a rental car with it, it will cover $10,000 worth of damages So that could cover the deductible on the car rental or the car insurance that we already have. So we really have double coverage between those two. You just need to look at your own car insurance policy, see how rentals are handled, and then also look at your credit cards, because you will be surprised that car rental policy is actually a perk for a number of credit card companies. So as is extended warranties, by the way, guys, completely off topic, but instead of paying for extended warranties, check your credit card, because a number of credit cards give automatic extended warranties for products that are purchased with your credit card. It's pretty sweet. Let's see. Oh, and Jill's got an off-topic question for P&G coupons. I can't get them to load in the basket to print. So Jill, I have issues with P&G's website just loading for me. I will tell you one thing that works is usually switching web browsers, but their website in general can just be difficult. And I actually have a much easier time getting to their website online than I do, or sorry, on a phone than I do on a desktop. And definitely it's totally related to, I think, IP address, because when I make it go through my phone's data, loads with no problem. But when I make it go through our internet, can never get it to work. So those are just a couple things to try. It's just something about their website though, Jill. I wish I could give you a better answer. So Thousand Hills says, a question from last week with Get Upside. Do my husband and I have separate accounts, or can we both use one email? So honestly, what we will do is we just have one account, and I will claim an offer, and you have 4 hours to submit your receipt. So he will tell me where he is, and I will say, oh yeah, you're right near there. I'll claim an offer. He'll get the gas, and I'll take a picture of the receipt when he gets home. But you could have separate accounts if you wanted to. If he isn't going to come home within 4 hours, obviously that's not going to work for you. But for us, it tends to work because he's out dropping a kid off somewhere or whatnot. We can usually get that uploaded without a problem. And keep in mind, I mentioned warehouse clubs for gas. They are not included in Get Upside. It's really the BPs and the Shells and the Spinks, all of those types of stations, but not warehouse stations. So one thing to mention in terms of travel too, I mentioned it in terms of where our hotels are, but since we're talking entertainment, don't forget about bus systems that are out there. One example for us just in the last 2 weeks was Key West. We're on Key West. We're trying to figure out how to get from one side of Key West where your cruise ship is to the other side of Key West without walking with 5 kids. Key West was kind of hot that day. It only takes a second. You see a bus go by to quickly Google, what's the cost of that bus? Turns out it's free. So, if you see that city bus filled with tourists, just take a second to figure that out. Yes, you could have gone and paid for a hop-on, hop-off bus and gotten all, but why do that? There's a free city bus that's going to take you wherever you want to go on that little island. Obviously, they're not all free, but don't be afraid of public transit. Definitely not in larger cities. These above ground trains, your subway systems. I know that they can be scary if you're not familiar with them, but it's kind of an adventure to get used to them all. And definitely cheaper than taking taxis and Ubers and everything else all over the city. So use your phone. Your phone, you can tell it you're going to take the subway. It will tell you when you're there. It will tell you when to get off. It'll tell you which way to walk, even if you're scared of going out the wrong side of the subway, or just, and be patient. I have a feeling my kids and my husband could both share of a time that we've missed a stop, or I've directed them to get on the wrong train because they totally follow me wherever I go in the subway system. That's okay. It's part of the adventure, but it's definitely cheaper than paying for the taxi and whatnot to get around the city. Just get creative and enjoy the adventure. Okay, so let's see. Oh, and Alicia's jumping in late. Where can I find the cheapest flights? So Alicia, yep, and my husband's chiming in too with a link for you, but Kayak Explore and google.com/flights are my 2 go-tos, and then Skip Lagged for those hidden leg ones. And Jessica's saying the New York subway is awful. It's not necessarily the cleanest route to go, but it gets you where you need to go. The other thing to consider with the New York subway too is that once I hop off the subway, I get a free transfer to a bus. And I can't tell you how many times we have used that to get all over Manhattan, hopping off a subway, hopping on a bus. I can get where I need to get. And you learn to stay in your own lane, basically. And if there's crazy people around you, you just let them be crazy around you. But you can definitely get some cheap travel that way using what is there. Okay. Oh, and I see Karen. Yes, the Georgia Welcome Center near Savannah is amazing. Brand new and very, very fancy. And yes, my husband did make me sit next to the Forrest Gump guy. That is just not a movie that anyone named Jenny likes. I'm just going to tell you that. Not a fan of Forrest Gump. I can hear it in my ears now. I can't handle it. Okay, I think I hit everyone's questions. I'm going to try to look over everything too on our long list of things to hit. I think we actually possibly made it through every single thing that I had too. So to recap, before we close out here, your dates are key. Your dates are where you are going to save the most. Yes, you can save on the plane tickets and the hotels and everything after that, but it is crucial that you pick the best time to travel if you've got control over that. And then from there, let's try to not stay right in the heart of the city. Let's try to zoom out just a tiny little bit. Use transportation to get in and to get to things that you need to get to, but you are going to save considerable amounts of money to get out of the heart of the city. And travel-wise, use those flight sites that I mentioned and put in the comments to help you get the cheapest deal. Kind of looking at those outlying little airports. They may end up being a better deal than the big airport. You never know. And also trying, if you can, to plan to only eat one meal out a day. Even better to not eat any. That doesn't always work, but only one meal out a day and making some sandwiches. The cheapest meal to eat out is always lunch, guys. So if you can, we eat sandwiches for dinner and we eat a big lunch if you want to do that. It is by far the cheapest meal over eating dinner out every single time that you have to. And in terms of entertainment, checking out all of those free places in the links that we put in, and then heading up with Groupon and City Pass for some other options. So that's a quick recap of everything that we've covered in the hour. It was a lot of information. I hope that it helps you though, because I don't know if you live in my boat, but vacations are kind of crucial to my mental health, and it doesn't have to be big. I mean, a vacation to an hour away is still a vacation. So don't necessarily feel like you have to go huge. We don't need to leave the country. We don't even need to go on a cruise. Sometimes it's just for us getting in the camper and going to a state park that's 30 minutes away and just having some family time. That's all that I needed. I just needed a little bit of memories and it makes my heart happy. So you don't have to make this big. You can make it really, really easy. But there you go. Oh, you guys. Thanks, Jessica. I needed that. I don't need to hear the Forrest Gump at all in my life. I might just change my name. If that movie had become like Forrest Gump 2 and 3 and 4, I probably would have changed my name. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Next Monday night, I don't even know what my plan was, but I've decided that we're going to cover one that we haven't done in a little bit, and that is saving money on groceries online. I've gotten a lot of comments in the last week, emails, Facebook messages about online groceries as folks are, I guess, getting a little leery about how much we may or may not want to be in public in the next few weeks. Who knows? I'm not going to say, we're not going to blow anything out of proportion here, but there are definitely ways to save money on your groceries using pickup, using drive up, and using subscribe and save and whatnot. So we're going to go there. We're going to talk about all the stores that are offering pickup and drive up, and then ways to save using those stores and online sites for groceries, and try to hit some of the tips there in case that is where you want to go. Oh, and Karen, yes, I can see that with your last name that you have the same pain. So that's our plan for next week. Thanks, guys, for joining me on my spotlight night in the hotel room. I hope that you got some great tips for how to save on vacation. Feel free to share it with a husband. Tag them and say, hey, let's go somewhere. But again, thanks for coming in with your tips to share too in the comments. That always makes it even better. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I will be back with CVS and Walgreens videos. I film them live from San Diego, so my husband just has to find time to edit them and get them together, which he doesn't have a ton of time on. I actually meant to mention that. So if you want to save on conferences, he wins this week. The conference that I'm at, I had already bought a ticket, but we decided last minute for him to tag along. because we'd already bought a hotel room. And he figured out that if he volunteered for the conference, he could attend for free. So, if your travel is even work-based, there can be ways to save there too. So go husband for saving a very expensive conference ticket. But he's had to put in a bit of extra work this week to do that. So thank you guys for joining us. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will be back next week.